Hello everyone, welcome to the second episode of the NE3 podcast. Quick little message before we get into the video. The fantasy football tournament obviously is still going. You'll hear us mention more about it in a second. You're still welcome to join, but unfortunately we filmed it before game week 1, so people will be a game week behind. Still feel free to join, it's still early, you could still possibly win the league, and the prize is still up for grabs, so, it'd be nice to see you in the league. On top of that as well, as said, we filmed it before game week 1, so some of our predictions might seem a bit off now. That's just football for you, it's still early in the season. Yep, so just want to put a quick message in there so everyone knows, you can still join, but be aware you will be a week behind everyone else. Without further ado, I'll let you get into the video. Hope you all enjoy. Hello everyone, welcome back to another the NE3 podcast. Today we're going to be looking at Premier League predictions, and obviously with us I've got Adam.
Yep.
And Kieran.
Hello.
And obviously I'm Evan. And we're going to look at who we think is going to finish where in the Premier League table. Quite self-explanatory. We'll try and speed things up this time, get things going quicker than we did previously. But before we get into it, I will mention something. We have set up a fantasy league, which hopefully the link will be to in the description. And if not, we'll put the pin on screen for you as well. I would like as many as possible to join, and hopefully we can get a good amount of people in there. And the incentive for you is that the winner will get a £20 gift card of their choosing. And if we win, we're keeping the money. Simple as. You've got to come and try and beat us free. I mean, Adam we bottom, so that's easy. Just got to beat me or Kieran.
Can I just point out that I have came and won real money off Sky Fantasy Football for being a brilliant fantasy football player. Won the cup 2 years ago, so they've come beaten.
Oh, well, we'll see. As I say, one thing you can bank on is Adam is going to be bottom. That's about it.
Trying this year for the £20.
Right, honestly, Adam, you can get the £20, are you? Right, honestly, Adam, if you win, I'll give you 40. That's how confident I am that you're going to lose. I will give you £40 if you win this fantasy league.
Oh.
Right, because we did a Euro one, and where did you come, Adam?
I think I came last.
No, not think you came last, Adam. Have you done your forfeit yet? That was organised.
I don't know.
That's funny. That doesn't know what we're talking about, does he? Right. Okay. Well, that'll be a link in the description. Hopefully, as I say, there should be a pin on screen for you as well. But it'd be nice to see somebody's on there. It'll be retweeted and everything, so you'll be able to find the pin. Without further ado, we'll get into it. We'll start with Adam. Adam can give us his predictions for this season.
Well, start wins here. I mean, everyone knows this team's going to get relegated. Norwich City. I can't see anyone putting above 18. They made some right signs, to be fair, but Norwich are a yo-yo club, and I can't see them staying up this season. So I went with them in bottom place, but I don't think anyone would agree with that.
Right. Okay. I mean, I can see a reason. I can see that Norwich would be bottom. I think I've got a bit more hopeful in the season, and I'll explain why my predictions. I don't necessarily think they're going to stay up, but I think there's something about this Norwich team that is different, and we'll see. I'll explain my reasoning, but I think I can still agree with that. See him there, Millsy?
I haven't quite got them bottom, but spoiler alert, I do have them to go down.
Yeah, I think that's not a shock to anyone. Right, go on then. Next one. Are we going to go, down up, or are we just going to do our bottom 3 and then top 4?
Down. Yeah, if we keep messing around the table.
Yeah. Right, go on then. Next one.
I got Watford 19th. Yes, Ben Foster's got his goal for in the Premier League, but I don't think it's going to give him any hope. I think Watford, again, are another team that's going to struggle in the Premier League. I think it's fine for them. I think you will get quite a few goals for them. But again, though, the Premier League this season's a lot harder for the teams getting promoted for me. So I think Watford will get relegated. Again, I think it's probably one people would expect.
Hey, that's it. The cycling goalkeeper is coming for you. He actually is. He's not having this, putting Watford to go down. In fair, he's an amazing keeper. I think he could probably do better than Watford. But he is getting up there in terms of age. The signings, any word on the signings? I know they signed Daniel Rose in a free. They made some okay signings.
No, I made some good signings, yeah, but I mean, they still haven't made enough to stay up, in my opinion.
Yeah. Who is the manager again? Is it Johanovic?
No, he's manager at
Sheffield United, isn't it? Yeah. Who was the manager again?
I don't know. I couldn't tell you.
Poor knowledge, but to be fair, I've not heard of them, so that says a lot. Do you know what I mean? So I think we're probably going to stay up. I think I agree on that one. What are you thinking, Kieran?
Watford, I've got a bit more hope for them than Adam. I don't know if it's watching the cycling GK seeing all these videos with Chris MD and Mini Minter convincing us, but I've got them actually to finish 15th to still. I think they're going to have a decent season.
Okay, fair enough. Right, next one then, Adam.
An 18th, I went for a team that some people might expect. I went with Burnley. I think for years now, Burnley have struggled. I mean, Sean Dyche is the reason why they've stayed up, my opinion. He's a really good manager, but eventually I do think it's going to bite them in the backside, and this season I think it's going to be the one. I think Burnley haven't done enough in the window. They need to invest in players and bring some players in. They haven't done it. So for that reason, though, I think they will get relegated. Last season, finished 17th, didn't have a good season at all. So, yeah, for Sean Dyche, I think it's going to be a very tough season for him. I have put them down in 18th.
Yeah. I've got to say, I like the signing of Nathan Collins. I rated him at Stoke. I watched a bit of him. He's a good, strong centre-half. I think he's a Sean Dyche player. He's talented, but his defensive attributes are his best. So he fits Sean Dyche's profile perfectly. So I think in that regard, good signing. But as you say, it's not enough. They need to invest more in that squad. There's not enough in that squad to keep them up necessarily. You know, some good individual players, but that depth not there. The quality all around not there. So I think I agree with that one.
I would also agree. I'm spoiling mine as I go along. Yeah, but I've got Burnley to finish bottom. I think they're really going to struggle. Of course, Dwight McNeil's been linked to Everton. That hasn't happened yet, so he's a Burnley player, we could say. But as far as you've just said, that signing Collins, they've just let Gibson go to Norwich on a permanent transfer. Whether you think that's a good transfer or not, they're strengthening who's going to be one of their relegation rivals, in my opinion.
Oh yeah, definitely. No doubt in that.
I feel like they're over-reliant on Chris Wood, and if he gets injured, I think that's them down. I just think, as Adam says, not enough signings. I think eventually it's just going to hit them badly.
Yeah. Who you going for 17th then?
In 17th, I stuck Brentford in there. I think a lot of people, I've looked at some people's reaction video. I've seen some people stick Brentford in the top 10 in the Premier League. I can't see that happening. I think they're an okay team, but I think they're extremely overrated. They have never played in the Premier League before. Yes, Ivan Toney's had the best season in Championship history, but Dwight Gill, for example, he scored 20 plus goals in the Championship, and he really hasn't cut in the Premier League for Newcastle. So you don't know how these players are going to get on. I think they will stay up, but I don't understand how people have got them so high in the table. I really don't expect them to have a season that Leeds did last year. I think Brentford will struggle at times this season, but I think there are three worse teams in them, so I think they will have an enjoyable first season at least.
Yeah, I've got to say I agree with. They're not going to finish in the top half probably. I mean, I think looking at the sides that have come up, I wouldn't be as surprised if they finished in the top half than like a Norwich. But at the same time, I agree with what you say that they are vastly overrated. This squad was a great Championship squad, no doubt, but that's what it was, a Championship squad. A lot of these players have never been tested in the Premier League. I will say for them, they have got players who are experienced on the big stage, like Christian Norgard and a few of other players who have played on the big stage at the Euros and stuff. And that's good for them. That's great for them. And they've got Christophe Ayer from Celtic as well. Another nice signing. I think 15 million was a nice little risk. He's only 23, 22. And that's good for them. However, I've got to agree with you. There's just not enough there for them to finish in the top half. And they could easily still go down because that manager, I keep forgetting his name. I know he's Danish. I forgot his name. But basically, he's not experienced in the Premier League or at the top level. And he's not got enough probably to bring them to the top half. He's got enough quality maybe to avoid relegation, but that'll probably be it for me as well.
I think Thomas Frank is the name of the manager.
All right. And it was something like that.
I do think they will survive, but I'm not one of these that think it's going to be a top 10 or a massive shock of a season that you might say Leeds had last year, even though Leeds is probably more likely than Brentford anyways. But I think that squad is overrated because they've let somebody go like Emiliano Marcondes. I know he wasn't a regular starter, but him signing for Bournemouth, even though he scored in the playoff final, like that's a player that could have come up with him, and I think would have given great depth, squad depth when it comes to the winter fixtures when there's congestion of fixtures. But
no, I agree. I was quite surprised to let him go for nothing, and I think he was a good little signing for Bournemouth on a free. Already scored in his first match for Bournemouth in the Championship. He's a good Championship player. it always baffled me that he never really started for Brentford, for starters. Do you know what I mean? Like, he was never in that starting lineup for very long. He'd always end up being an impact bench player. But I see what you mean. He should have got that chance in the Premier League, because around that Christmas fixture list, as you were saying, there's going to be a lot of congestion, and they're going to need players like him in the squad, which they don't have, in my opinion. Right, next one then, Adam.
And 60th I went with Southampton. Originally, I put this table in about a week ago. And again, literally this morning or yesterday, it was Vestergaard's going to be going to Leicester. We know that signs now. Danny Ings is already gone. I expect Ward-Prowse to be so at some point. I know he's a player a lot of clubs are looking into, but I mean, I don't understand this transfer window. It's just terrible for Southampton. You can't get rid of your best players in one window, especially our Premier League teams as well. That's going to be a massive problem for them. But they just haven't done enough. Like Adam Armstrong, yes, he's had a great season with Blackburn, but we don't know if he's going to be good in the Premier League. Aren't they sort of gambling these players that played in the Championship, try and get them out of a hole? So I don't know how things are going to go for him. I genuinely think they might be finished worse than 16th, but I'm going to stick with it. That's what I went for. But I don't understand the window. They literally got rid of the best players.
No, I do agree. They've always been a selling club, but they've always been able to replace well. All their recruitment's always been amazing, so you can never doubt that element. Their youth academy's always been good, and their replacement's been worse, but still good enough to keep them at a Premier League standard. And I would argue their youth academy, I don't know what it is, but the players we've been seeing coming through recently, they aren't terrible. But you compare people coming through now to people that used to have coming through, it's not as good as it was. It's just not. That's a fact. I don't know if it's what the element of that is, whether it's a coaching staff or whatever, but it's just not as good. And the signings as well, they used to sign from abroad and bring in players, from other leagues that were playing well. And now they are, as you say, dipping in the Championship a lot, and that is a risky move on their half.
Southampton, in my opinion, I know Adam's made this a week ago, so I've kind of got more of a hindsight than I've made mine a bit more recently. I do think Southampton are going to struggle massively, in my opinion. I think they're going to go down. I think they've just lost too much in relying on somebody that's never played in the Premier League too much, that it's going to cost them and they will go down. That's
fair. I think for me it's going to be a case of who's worse. Do you know what I mean? I think this is why I'll go into it. This is why I think Norwich might have a better chance than people think, because when I go through my relegation, people in my relegation battle, a few of those teams, I think if they have a bad season, they'll have a diabolically bad season. Do you know what I mean? Like, I think if Burnley are to go down, I'll agree with your sentiment, Kieran, that if they're going to go down, they're going to finish bottom. They're not going to finish, they're not going to just get relegated. It's going to totally fall apart. They're going to capitulate, and there'll be nothing left. And that's why I think a team like a Norwich or a Watford could sneak up if these teams that are, better than them have really, really bad seasons that could sneak themselves another year in the Premier League. Right, we'll try and get through a bit quicker now. We'll go through your, we'll go for your next two. Go for your next two places.
Okay, in 15th had Crystal Palace, and in 14th had Brighton. So with Crystal Palace, Vieira, I think, is a terrible manager. We don't rate him one bit, and I think he will struggle in the Premier League. I think what we discussed last live stream, but I think Palace are going to struggle quite a bit. And I said Brighton, I think they have a bit of a better season. I know Brighton last year, they played excellent football in the majority of the games, but they just couldn't take any chances. Everyone always laughed about the XG because every single match they outscored the opposition, but they just couldn't put it in the net. That was the only problem, really. So, I think they will have a bit of a better season, Brighton, but still, I don't think it'll be anything remarkable. I think 14 is just kind of just meh, really. But I stuck Brighton down there, and as for obviously Palace here in 15th.
No, I'm gonna agree with it, both those. I think we've all got a lot of teams in similar places, maybe at one position up, one position down, especially in this part of the table. But I like some of Brighton's signings. They got, I don't know if you know him, Percy Tau has come back into the squad and he scored in pre-season. He's looked good. He adds another attacking threat, because Maupay, we know, can be hit and miss. Connolly, hit and miss. That's been their issue up top. They've got strikers who go through purple patches but then go missing. Welbeck was okay for them last season, but, we've seen these players that need to really just consistently play. And if they can string together some goals, as Adam says, they're easily going to start pushing towards that top 10. I don't think they're in any way in trouble of going down at all. They're comfortably still up for me, again. And they made some okay signs. They have lost Ben White, But I think they've always had good centre halves, and they'll have someone that Leo Ostergaard was playing for Company last season. He looks good, and he was good in the Championship last season. So a bit like Ben White was, I think he's the kind of centre half that's ready to make that leap, so they won't really lose much quality.
Brighton, I agree. I think everybody knows about the XG. That's no secret. But apart from that, I look at Trossard. I feel like this is a season where he's going to kick on, and I expect him to score. Maybe not loads of goals, but maybe in the region of 8 to 10 goals. And I think for him, that's progression. And I think Brighton as a squad are going to progress, not to the point of a top 10 team. I do think they're going to move away from being potential relegation threats to more solid mid-table team.
No, I agree with the Brighton. The only thing we'll quick talk about Crystal Palace, I'm sure, and it's definitely my list. We'll talk about them more, but Crystal Palace to me are very much what you would call an unknown entity this season. Their squad looks threadbare. They've lost so many players. They let so many players go on freeze. The one thing you probably say about Crystal Palace is they didn't have an amazing squad, but they had strong depth, in my opinion. You know, in that midfield especially, it was no amazing midfielders besides obviously Zaha, who's probably more of a forward. Do you know what I mean? And Milojevic, very mediocre defensive midfielders, and then Eze kind of create a spark. But they've lost a lot of that depth that helped them when they went through injuries. So an injury crisis, and I think Palace are in serious trouble. But we'll get into that more with my predictions. Do you want to go for your next two then, Adam?
In 13th, I got Newcastle, and in 12th, I got Wolves. So I'll start off with Newcastle first. Obviously, we know Joe Willock's going to say now he's going to do his medical. Great sign for the club. And obviously, we had different opinions out of the last video. But for me, though, Joe Willock is someone that's going to kick this team on. He's a player that's very energetic. He's a player that can get forward. He's a player for me that's going to score. Not as many as last season, probably, but I think he is one that's going to definitely help support the wingers and get something going in Newcastle. But yeah, I think we're having an okay season, 13th again, so I can only expect with the club at the minute. In terms of Wolves, in 12th, obviously Val Jimenez's head fracture last season was kind of one of the reasons why they had such a bad year. I think in terms of this season, it'll be a bit of a rebuilding season. I don't think it'll be one where they try and push on. Obviously, new manager, a few new players, and I think next season is one where you probably try and expect to push a little bit further. But for now, though, I think 12 players, I kind of can't argue with that one. I think it'll be okay for Wolves. So yeah, I went with Wolves in 12 and Newcastle in 13.
Yeah, I can see those. Again, quick note on Wolves. Wolves, I think they might struggle, and I think they'll do worse than some people realise, because that squad was made for Nuno, and it was under his style and his type of play, and it was his squad, very much his. Like, you know, when you look at some teams, it is one manager squad, and I would have said that for that Wolves team, it was Nuno's squad. Yeah, there's some immensely talented players in that team. Jimenez, obviously Neves. You know, there's no doubt talented players in that team, but they've lost some of that talent, like Patricio, amazing goalkeeper. They brought in Jose Sa, who looks. It's ironically, he looks a lot like Patricio. Do you know what I mean? He's Portuguese like Patricio. It seems like a like replacement, but you don't know. And things like these kind of players can lose your points, especially with a goalkeeper. And I think they could always finish lower than people are thinking.
I agree that Wolves aren't going to be a top 10 side. I think they'll be comfortable mid-table again. Like in the middle of the table, I feel like there's a lot of teams could be a little bit higher, a little bit lower, but still within that mid-table battle. So yeah. I think in terms of Wolves specifically, I know you've said that it's a Nuno team, but I think the players are so talented that they will be able to adapt quite comfortably. And I do see them being a steady team, nothing special, nothing drastic.
I think that's the same with Stephanie Newcastle to me as well, you know, because of the way they set up under Steve Bruce and the players they've got. They're not going to be immensely, you know, amazing to watch. They're not going to be an immensely pushing on team, but they're going to do enough definitely to, you know, definitely stay up, maybe get mid-table, you know, push towards that other end. Definitely the case. Right. We'll go on to your next two, and then we'll start slowing it down when we get towards the top four.
This is where it gets a bit mental because there's just so many teams that he has invested. I got West Ham in 11, I've got Everton in 10. So I'll be going with West Ham. I think a lot of people, especially West Ham fans, I think some of them might expect them to have another really good season. I don't think they're going to do that. I don't think it was a fluke last season. I think they definitely deserve to get 6, but I don't think they'll be as good as they did last year. I think the European campaign, obviously, they'll be focusing on trying to get somewhere half decent in that. I just think the squad's just not big enough to compete in two competitions at once. So I think they will struggle a little bit this year, but again, I think 11th place is pretty good for West Ham. Obviously, they do have a good season in the Europa League, but yeah, again, I don't think I can fault them. I think they will have a decent season, but I don't expect too much from them. In terms of Everton, I don't think Rafa Benitez is going to add much more than Ancelotti did, actually. I think Rafa Benitez is a bit of a downgrade from Ancelotti. And with Everton, I mean, I've got a really good squad, but they're just bottle matches all the time. Like, it's ridiculous some of the bottles to do, but yeah, I think it's a nice season for them, and a frustrating season for Everton fans. And I don't expect them to get anything more than 10th. For the teams above them, it's just some ridiculous teams this season. So, but me, I think 10th place again, so no change there, and obviously West Ham in 11th.
Do you know what? I almost completely agree with everything you said there. I know that me and Kieran had a conversation about West Ham a couple of weeks ago, it would have been. And there's been no signings since then. And we said the same thing, that depth is not enough for the Europa League. And it's no doubt they'll probably play similar football and they'll still be a good team to watch and still be a good team, especially with that Soucek and Rice, defensive midfield. They're going to be hard to get past in the midfield. There's no doubt. They've got that defensive block there that it's hard to overcome. But when these players start getting tired and Soucek maybe gets injured or Rice is knackered and can't play after a Europa League game, they're going to start dropping points. And Kieran mentioned the lack of striker backup in that team is worrying. Antonio is not an out-and-out striker, and is he that only first-team striker you were saying, Kieran?
Yeah, currently. I mean, whether they'll have to bring some sort of academy graduate as cover for centre forward, but there's no way Antonio can be the only recognised striker going into the season, play a full Europa League and Premier League campaign. Like, he just physically can't do it. As well as that, he's a player that tends to pick up 1 or 2 injuries a season. So I feel like the only reason it didn't suffer as much last year is because Jesse Lingard come in. Nobody would have seen him have played the way he would have, and it covered the lack of Antonio.
Yeah, well, that's another thing as well. That's a big point to add, that they're missing that Jesse Lingard. It was fantastic for them, creativity-wise. And did they have that? Lanzini's a good player, but he's not on the level Jesse Lingard was last season. And again, a lot of injuries. He's also enjoyed Lanzini. Fornals was good towards the end of the season as well, but he is at times looked poor. So it's, as I say, that West Ham team, I think they will struggle with the amount of games they've got. Definitely. And with Everton, as you said, I completely agree with everything Adam said on Everton. Benitez is definitely, in my opinion, definitely a downgrade on Ancelotti, no doubt about it. They've still got a strong enough squad where they should be looking for 10th place as that, Calvert-Lewin up top, some good defensive players in Keane and Pickford, if he plays the way he played for England, a great keeper. So yeah, 10th place, but Benitez is nothing special and won't push them on any further than that.
Is that your next two?
Yeah, go on. Hit one next two then.
Right. In 9th, I've got Arsenal, and 8th, I've got Leeds. So I actually think Leeds are going to have a better season than Arsenal. I think Arsenal are going to have the worst ever season in the Premier League. I think, in terms of being an Arsenal fan, it's one of the worst times to support them. The club is just an absolute shambles at the minute. Obviously, I'm going to talk about Joe Willock, but they're selling Joe Willock to buy Ramsdale, even though they need a new backline. It makes no sense. I don't understand that sign at all. And just Arsenal in general, there's a lot of sort of frustration at the club at the minute. A lot of fans are obviously going to protest and riot throughout the season, so it's going to be a very busy year for them. And just in general, Stan Kroenke just doesn't care. He really doesn't care. Arsenal make the most money out of anyone in the league in terms of match due revenue. And it'll be the same this season. He could not give one away to finish. All he wants is just easy money. And unfortunately for Arsenal fans, it's just going to be one of them seasons for them where they just rather wish they supported someone else. In terms of 8th place, though, Leeds, I think Leeds are really going to kick on this year. I think I felt bad from last season. Not having any fans in the stadium, first time back to Premier League in 15 years. I honestly think we'll get a European spot this season, so obviously the Conference League, I think it's called. But yeah, I think Leeds United are a team to watch this season again. I think it'll be great against the teams around them, and I think they'll do enough to get them in the top 8.
Yeah, I'll happen you first, Kieran, then I'll jump into my opinions on Arsenal. We'll start with Arsenal, and then we'll go on to Leeds.
I'm just going to spoil mine again. I agree with Adam completely. I've got Arsenal 9th and Leeds 8th as well. Arsenal, I just feel like since Wenger left, they've stagnated for a while. And Aubameyang's not getting any younger. Lacazette, you don't know what day he's going to be, if he's going to be good on one day or not. Martinelli, what's happening with him? Why doesn't he play? Does Arteta have fell out with him? And I feel like even though Smith Rowe looked good at times last year, so did Saka. For Arsenal, Saka and Smith Rowe, 2 young kids, can't be the level of player they should be aspiring to. So I think they will struggle. I just can't see them pushing on for Europe, even though that I know they don't have European football to contend with this season. I don't know. There's a feeling that they're just going to struggle. And as far as Leeds are concerned, Leeds always start well under Bielsa's football and sort of tail off towards the end of the season. But I feel like this year they've got used to the Premier League. Bamford, I feel like they'll have another strong year. I think they're gonna push on. Maybe, well, I put them 8th. Maybe they could finish higher, but I think 8th would be an excellent season for them.
Yeah, well, I agree with the Leeds thing. I think Bielsa's staying. He's just signed a new one-year contract because we know Bielsa. He's such a great manager. He can do what he wants. He can move where he wants. His system was so effective, and he's such an intelligent manager that he can demand what he wants from a club because they know when they hire him, 9 times out of 10 they're going to get one of the most tactically brilliant managers on the planet. On the planet. There's no doubt, in my opinion. That he's tactically one of the best managers. He can just change his game in a second and play against the opposition the way he needs to play. So that's a massive boost. And I think he's improved the squad in little places. That left back position, Alioski was a good left back, but he sometimes was defensively lacking. And Firpo is a big improvement for me there. I feel like I'm forgetting some of their signings. They've definitely signed 1 or 2 people. And then that centre halves are looking good, and they've got a good bit of depth. Maybe want a couple more players, a bit more depth, and easily 8th place, easily. And more Arsenal, I think he's covered everything that needs to be covered. They're just it's an absolute shambles at that club at the moment, and it needs to be sorted quick, very, very quick. Otherwise they're in serious trouble. I think every football fan knows that, and that says something. Now no one even considers Arsenal the top 6, let alone the top 4, and that is very disappointing. Right, come on then, we'll get near your top 4 with your next 2.
Okay, so 7th I've got the North London rivals. I've got Tottenham there, and in 6th I've got Aston Villa. So I'll begin with Tottenham first. I think Harry Kane's a very frustrated player this season. I think he did want to leave, and I think Daniel Levy's like, listen, you're not going anywhere. And I think that's going to cause a big issue for them this season. I think there's a lot of sort of backroom sort of drama at the minute. And I think for Tottenham, again, it's quite an odd team. I think Tottenham should have invested. I think they should have honestly sold Kane, get some new players in. Because I just don't see him having a good season at all. I think some of the players just aren't going to be ready. I don't think nothing's really gelling right at the minute. And for me, I've stuck them down in 7th, but God knows. It's quite an off team, Tottenham, this season, so we'll see how they get on. But I don't think they have a good season at all. In terms of Aston Villa, unlike Tottenham, they have a direction. They know exactly what they want to do. You want to know what players want to bring. They know what sort of aspect they want to take the club to. And I think in terms of Aston Villa, yeah, I'd love to be an Aston Villa fan right now. I think they're ready to get European campaign. I think they will definitely push on and attempt to get it. But yeah, I think in 6th place I got them. I think they've spent the Jack Grealish money very well. And I think players like Leon Bailey and, of course, Danny Ings will be great individuals to have at the club.
Yeah, again, I think I've got the same, if not similar, when it comes to the table. So we'll probably get through mine and Kieran's a bit similar. I think it's saying something that this season everyone's got a similar feeling about those teams. I mean, it could all be wrong. That's football for us. But as I say, a team like Spurs, it's a team on a transition. It's a team where their top player doesn't want to be there. That's always going to create a less than ideal season, a less than ideal environment at the club. I think last time after a major tournament as well, Kane was a bit exhausted. He didn't perform his best for Spurs. So I think they've got that to contend with on top of the fact he wants to leave. So I think Spurs, new manager, they're going to have to finish lower. There's no doubt, they're going to struggle a bit more next season. And Villa, again, same thing as you, team on it up. And I think even if it doesn't come together for them next season, you cannot blame the management of that team. You can't blame the hierarchy because they've done everything right. They've replaced well. They've done everything so smart, can't blame them at all. And I want the best of them, honestly do, because they're even in terms of the English football, they're a prestigious team, and it's nice to see them back up the top again. Same with Leeds, same for Leeds. It's nice to see them pushing up, and it's nice to see the top 4 of the Premier League being shook up by some of the old boys. But yeah, I completely agree with what Adam said there.
My worry with Spurs, although I've got them a little bit higher than you, is I'm based on the idea that Kane will leave. Because I feel like at 28, Kane, he's going to get one chance to move, and it's now. Because next year, 29, Haaland's available. Lewandowski might be available on a very cheap deal. And with the injuries Kane gets, he's not going to get 100 million move, in my opinion, next year. I feel like Spurs need to cut ties with Kane now, whilst they've got a new manager and they've got a new direction. Cut the ties now and get the money and invest in a few players. But based on that, taking Kane out of the situation, I think under Nuno, Spurs might actually benefit without a Kane and having Son as a direct, as the middle striker. Because we know Nuno likes to play 3 or a 5 at the back, whichever way you look at it. And I feel like that sort of football relies on somebody being able to move and run in behind as a striker rather than somebody that stays still. And I feel like Son would be a better player for that. So I'm based on the idea that Kane might move. I think Spurs might finish a little bit higher.
No, I think they'll probably finish low. I've got to say, I don't see anything higher than them. A bit like it's happening all across London, like, Spurs and Arsenal. Arsenal lost their big talent. A lot of their big talent sold it, were selling, and clinged onto the wrong people like Ozil and that when they should have got rid of them way sooner, and it damaged them. And I think Spurs are doing a very similar thing with Kane. Cut your ties, let the player leave, because either his performances are going to be impacted or the atmosphere of the club is. I think the best thing for them to do is to just think, right, take the money and we'll rebuild. But yeah, I agree that they're not going to finish as high, or they're going to struggle. Definitely. Right, we're getting towards the top 4 now. Adam, go on then. Let's see how it is.
5th by itself, so we can get ready for the top 4. In 5th, I stuck Leicester. I think Brendan Rodgers, again, he knows what he's doing with the club. He knows what direction to take it in. And I think even though 5th place, for most people probably sounds good, I think for Leicester fans it will be frustrating because last 2 seasons they probably should have had top 4, and both times there's 1 or 2 games to go and it just bottled it right at the end. So again, in theory, 5th place sounds pretty good for them, but I think Leicester fans at this point will want to push forward the top 4 spot because that team that can do it, I think they will be able to do it. But in terms of Leicester, though, I think Jamie Vardy's got 1 or 2 good years left in him. I think he is coming towards that time now where they need obviously a new player to step up. And obviously, if the new signings can do it, we'll see what happens. But I think in terms of this season, I think Vardy will still be up for it. And I think obviously Iheanacho as well has had an unbelievable year last season. So I think they will get 5th place. Obviously, again, I think they might just miss out on the Champions League. But I don't know, Leicester fans might be happy with that. I'm not too sure. But yeah, I've stuck them in 5th place.
Yeah, I think Leicester have been very, 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 very smart in this transfer window. They've not spent loads on, one player. They've invested a little bit here and there in the modern market, at least. 50 million is still a lot of money. We spoke about the Vestergaard signing. I think we'll quickly push over it now. But Vestergaard, that signing, it's a good signing. We all thought it was a good signing, I think, on this conversation. But the money, 15 million for a backup centre half who's 29 years old, is a lot of money. If he was younger, great signing. But I'd just say he's a good signing because that backup for Fofana is great, and I think that is why they might push in the Champions League spots. That depth is fantastic. They learned from the model of Liverpool. Liverpool with the injury of Van Dijk, they didn't have any good backup there really, and it bit them, and it cost them another shot at the title. And I don't think Leicester are gonna let the same thing happen to them, if you know what I mean. So hopefully we can see a good season from Leicester. But I agree, 5th is probably going to be their ceiling because unfortunately that top 4 is just too strong.
I agree. I think Leicester's squad and the way the club's run, like every club would want to be run, sell high, buy cheap, and it seems to work every time for them. But I just feel like the top 4 are now almost in a mini league because of the signings this season. That it's going to be hard for Leicester to push into that top 4 and get anything more than Europa League. But at the end of the day, I feel like that's still Leicester punching above their weight when you consider how Spurs and Arsenal are going on with the sides of their clubs. So I feel like Europa League would be a good season again for Leicester. Leicester fans might disagree, but
yeah, I think we've all got them around that position. I think again everyone can see they're improving and they're pushing and they're not stagnating, but they're not quite there yet. They just it took a long time to build that top 4 strong as is, so it's going to take a bit of time to deconstruct it. I think it's fair. Right, go on then, Adam. We'll get in your top 4. Do you want to start from 1st or start from 4th and go up?
We'll start from 4th and go up. In 4th, I put Liverpool for the simple fact that the 3 teams both have hundreds of millions of pounds in the summer window, and obviously Liverpool haven't. So I think it's going to be a big problem for this season. I know Van Dijk obviously coming back is going to be a big boost for them, but I don't know how he's going to play because ACL injuries are such a problem with players. A rare going injury, and you could argue that he may not be the same player anymore after coming back. But I do think he will be top of his game. But I just can't see Liverpool getting any further than fourth. I really think the teams around him have just invested way more than Liverpool have. And I think FSG is just going to be, obviously, the owners at Liverpool are going to be whinging about quite a bit this season. But yeah, rightfully so. I've got them down in fourth. And I've got a feeling I might have stuck them higher in the tail. But yeah, for me, I can't see him getting any more than that. But I'll ask you first, Kieran, since I've been so, yeah.
Yeah, I've
Sorry about
also put Liverpool fourth. I feel like I agree. The Van Dijk injury, how serious it'll affect him in the future, we don't know. Is he going to be as good? That's to be seen. I like Canate from what I've seen. I think he'll be a good signing, but I just think Salah, Mane, and Firmino is a season too long. I feel like a new super forward should have been both by now to freshen things up. When you look at how Chelsea have gone, they've won the European Cup and they're still brought in a new striker. City have won the league and they've brought in Grealish. No, I said I fancy it to be a bust, but at least they're trying to freshen up the front line. I think Liverpool are going to start stagnating, which is why I put them fourth. They're still good enough to finish in the top four, of course, but I don't think they're going to challenge.
You see, my opinion as being a Liverpool fan, I've watched a lot in pre-season and a bit more involved than used to, and I think we could surprise people. Because I think people are kind of in the mindset that we're going to do well, we're just not going to push the title, and I don't think we're going to get a title necessarily, but I think we'll push City and Chelsea and those people like those a bit further this year than people think, purely because I've been watching pre-season and those fringe players last season who normally wouldn't get a lot of game time, and when they come in aren't as good because they played so much last season, it has boosted them massively. In pre-season, I've been really impressed with Minamino and Shimikas. I know you don't watch pre-season, but you're playing against top, Spanish teams, not just, you're talking not tiny Austrian teams from nowhere, proper teams who you'd play against maybe in the Europa League or Champions League or on the same quality as some Premier League teams. And they've been playing fantastically. Minamino pre-season has been another level. And I mean another level. And Shimikas got registered an assist in every single game. And Robertson's out, obviously for the first game at least, probably I'd imagine, if not more. And Shimikas looks ready. He looks ready and poised now to take up that left back position. Not as good as Robertson, but he's a good rotation. And I think those fringe players will push us further. And on top of that, you've got the youth. Harvey Elliott has been also fantastic in pre-season. He's been playing centre midfield. He's not quite as good as Wijnaldum, but he gives creativity in midfield. And if he can get a string of games in that team, he's something different. And, we thought we'd seen him on the wing, playing up top, and he could very well do. And he's like a new signing. You say you want that big super forward. Why waste that money? I wish we had done that. I do see what you mean. But why waste that money? We've got Diego Jota, Harvey Elliott, and Minamino, who maybe at the moment aren't quite as good. But I'd argue when we signed Salah and Mane and that, they weren't too much better. It was all about managing them and taking what they have as players and pushing them on further. So I think I wouldn't be surprised to see Liverpool finish higher than people expect.
Well, yeah, obviously fair enough, but I don't think the likes of Timoskas, Jota, obviously, or Jota's alright to be fair, but I don't think the likes of Harvey Elliott and obviously those sort of players you're competing against the likes of Chelsea, both the Manchester. I mean, these are clubs that spend billions of pounds on players. I just don't think Liverpool can handle them this season. I just think they spent way too much money. I think Man U has made some really good investments, but I think they'll come to get top four, but I can't see them competing with those three. I really can't.
That is fair. As I say, I'm very torn. I think it will depend on the form of those fringe players throughout the season, and because I think our starting 11, no one can argue, is fantastic on its day. It's just we haven't got the depth for the quality that a lot of these massive teams have. Right, come on then. Let's see your third place.
In third place, I got Chelsea. I've seen quite a few people sticking towards first and second, but for me, I think the Manchester teams have, again, they've invested quite well this season. I think Chelsea are a team that plays better in the cup competitions. I think in the Premier League, I've won a few titles in the last 10 years. I think I won about 3 or 4, I think. But just this season, though, I just don't know. I've just got a feeling that they're going to be another team that's going to compete towards the Champions League, just not towards the Premier League. So for that reason, I've got them down in third. But I think Romelu Lukaku is going to be a player to watch this season. I'm looking forward to see him kick on. But yeah, obviously with Lukaku starting instead of Werner now, we'll score a lot more goals. But again, I just think Man U and Man City are just going to be more ready for this season. So that's why I put them down in third.
Yep, fair enough. I think we'll agree. Chelsea are probably going to keep pushing on now. They're definitely starting to knock on the door of your City. I think personally, in my opinion, I think they're knocking on the door of City more than United. But I can see why, with the signing of I think for me it does depend on the signing of Sancho. If he has a season like he had at Dortmund, I think definitely second place. But I just don't think that's going to happen for him. And therefore, I think Chelsea are probably knocking on the door of City more than any other team, especially after winning the Champions League and the depth and a good manager like Tuchel. I think they're definitely well equipped to start, pushing City for that title. And we'll see more what I think in terms of the top four when we'll get to mine. But what are you thinking on Chelsea and their top four position?
Chelsea I've put above Man United because I feel like they've got a big enough quality squad to challenge Man City, both, well, not directly in the Champions League, but to have a Champions League run, but particularly to challenge them in the Premier League. When you consider the attacking options they've got, Lukaku, Werner, Havertz, Ziyech, Mount, Pulisic, they've got so many players that can play in those free attacking positions. So and apart from that, I feel like Man United's first 11 is as good as the other two, but the squad still has a lot of players that I wouldn't say can compete over a Premier League season. So I think Chelsea and Man City, it'll be really close between them this season.
Yeah, I'm right. I will get. I really feel like because of this conversation, I feel like we should give our top fours now. Because I feel like we're getting really into this conversation, and I think we're getting more context of where we're all coming from, why we give our top fours. So, Adam, finish your top four. Give us your first and second place, obviously, together. Explain why you put them in. And I think me and Kieran give you our top fours so we can talk about each other's. Because I feel like we're going to have some differentiation, and it'd be good to know what everyone's picked.
Despite not getting a new striker, I'll put Man City in to win the title again. I think the squad's just got too many good players in there just to not win the league. I put, obviously, Manchester United in second. I think the Man U, investing. I think they need a second centre half, especially. I like Maguire a lot, but I think he's slow. I think he needs a centre half that's quick alongside to sort of help him out. But I think Varane, yes, he wasn't as good as he was a few seasons ago, but I think he still will be a player that obviously is a huge upgrade for Manchester United. I think Sancho as well. I don't think he'll be as good as a sign as Bruno was when he first came in, but I think for Man U, he'd be a perfect fit. I think he'd be a player that's slotted nicely, and I think he'd be one that will obviously highlight the likes of Rashford, Martial, those sort of players that kind of need it. But yeah, I think Manchester United generally have a better season than Chelsea. I think with Ollie, Ollie knows exactly what he's doing. Tuchel, obviously, his first proper season in the Premier League. I think with Ollie's sort of experience now, I don't think it'll be enough to try to chase Manchester City down, but I think it will be enough to get them that second place spot, which, I mean, I don't think Man U fans are complaining about at all if they try obviously Champions League this year.
Yeah. Right, so we've got your top two there. Before we fully discuss it, I can see your logic there with United and City, and the lack of a City striker definitely something that stuck in my mind when I picked my top four. And I'll give you mine now. Give my top four. My top four were as follows. I have went for Chelsea to win, and I'll give you my reason why in a second. I have went for second place City. I think the lack of a striker will bite them, especially when it comes to injuries and stuff. I think yes, it can play a false nine with Gundogan, yes with De Bruyne, but they need a striker. They just do. They're an effective team, and definitely with Grealish coming into the fold, they're going to push and they're going to be amazing. But I've just, in my gut is saying, especially after watching them lose that the Community Shield and stuff, I'm thinking they're going to lose points, and a team like Chelsea are going to pick them up where they'd lost them last season, and Chelsea are going to pick up even more points. We saw with Liverpool, for example, win the Champions League and then pushing on to win the league. I think Chelsea can do something similar. Often that happens, you win the Champions League and it just gives you that boost. These players are confident. A lot of England players as well in that squad are going to come back feeling confident. Mason Mount is going to be even more confident. Reece James is going to be confident. These players are going to really want to push for that Prem title now, and I think they've got enough in them, enough youth, enough experience to push for that title. And especially now with the additional Lukaku, even though I argued with the fee, he's going to get goals. He's really going to get goals. I mean, adding the pace and the raw talent of Havertz and Werner, they're deadly. They are really deadly and such strong depth that I think they will, nick a title, because they've done it with worse teams. They've done it with worse teams. Like that team under Conte, not that it was a bad team, but you look at the wing backs, Alonso and Moses. Conte got them playing amazingly, and that's probably on paper a worse team than this Chelsea team. You talk about James and Chilwell, they're way more talented than Alonso and Moses. So I think they've got the ability to do it now. And I'll see. My second place would be City for the reason I explained, lack of a striker, just a bad feeling about them. Third place I went Liverpool, because as I say, I think we'll push on a bit more. I think, I've got to have faith as a Liverpool fan. I'm not deluded. I don't think we're going to finish first. But I just feel like United are going to struggle more than people realise. It's a new set of players. And just adding in Sancho and Varane is not going to fix everything straight away. And they're still going to drop points. That defence, Varane's never played in the Premier League. And Varane is prone to a mistake or two. We've seen it before. So him and Maguire are both immensely talented centre-halves who've got a mistake in them. While someone like Van Dijk makes one mistake a season. Whilst, a Varane or Maguire make one mistake every couple of games. And that costs them more points. And that's why they'll finish fourth.
Yeah.
My top four is pretty similar to Adam's. I've got Liverpool fourth, Man U third, Chelsea second, Man City first. One point you've just made there, you've said about Varane makes an error every so often and Van Dijk makes a mistake once a season. You're basing that on Van Dijk pre-injury.
That's true. That's very true. No, that is very true.
Will Van Dijk be the same? Only time will tell. He might be just as good. But...
Well, to be fair, I will back up your point. In pre-season, watching him play, he looks a bit nervous. He does. He doesn't look as, going for tackles. I know it's pre-season as well, so he can't 100% take it as gospel. But he doesn't look like the Titan he was. He's a bit scared to go in because he knows what happened last time. Do you know what I mean? Like, He doesn't want his, to have no legs, essentially. And you can see that in the way he plays now. He's a bit more scared of, not taking an injury when he never was in the past. So I see your point, but I'm speaking as if he's going to be playing perfectly and on good form, and especially with having it like Gomez is back from injury, and then you've got on top of that Matip is back up, Konate is back up. To be fair, I think we might even start Konate over Gomez, depending on how the season goes. Or I genuinely would hope that Klopp maybe starts, especially we don't pick up points, changes the system and starts playing with a back three. Playing Konate, Gomez and Van Dijk, all centre-halves who can play with the ball really well. With wing-backs, Robertson and Alexander-Arnold, I think that could be very deadly. And then just two box-to-box midfielders in the centre with, a front three. I think that could be a very deadly, system. And I think if we play that, then it is all the Klopp. I think he does need to be a bit more venturous, a bit more risky, because he's very, not stuck in his ways. He's not like a Mourinho in that sense, but he is very much likes the way he plays.
Well, I'm basing Liverpool on fourth as that potentially Van Dijk will not be. I think he'll still be good, but I'm not sure he'll be able to be the best in the world quality. Simply because of the reason you've mentioned. I also, as I mentioned earlier, I feel like the front three might stagnate. I feel like they needed a freshened up just for competition more than anything. I know Jota come in last year, but did he really compete?
He had his moments, but he's not as consistent as those three. There's no argument in that respect. Also, he had City top. So what do you think's going to, keep City in that top spot?
I just think squad-wise, they've got talent upon talent upon talent. And I do honestly believe they're going to get Kane as well. And then Kane, Jesus, Grealish, Sterling, Foden, Mahrez, De Bruyne, Gundogan. There's just, you could go on and on and on. The squad's full of players. And I feel like under Guardiola, I've been really impressed with how De Bruyne's developed into an all-round player, as well as he was always a brilliant attacker when he first come in. But now when you see his defensive positioning and how he loves a little foul if a team's on the counter-attack and stuff, and I feel like overall, Man City squad's amazing. They're just the best squad in the league, and it's simple as that. They're going to win.
Yeah, right. I can see the logic. I think that a lot of this is me hoping as a Liverpool fan that just please City do not just dominate. Like it's just annoying because, as I say, I would rather see a Chelsea win if I'm being honest, because I know that it's still money central, but it's just for City, it's a vanity project in my opinion, which is a big claim, but it seems more like a vanity project in Chelsea. And Chelsea, for me, I like seeing teams. I like a competitive Premier League, like anyone does, and I think seeing City win again, it's just boring. I don't want to become like the Bundesliga, where there's competition, but there's that Bayern team who are always going to be top, no matter what. They may, maybe dip off or whatever, but they're going to more or less always be top. It's boring, Maybe some wishful thinking on my part, right? I think we'll go back now. We'll wind it back, and I'll go and do my relegation free. And I'll work my way through quick at this time because we spoke about most teams, more or less.
So I'll start my bottom place, and I don't think this will argue too much. Maybe there will be some argument. Bottom place, I have put Palace, because I have a very strong feeling, for the reasons I mentioned, they're going to totally capitulate. Vieira at Nice was an absolute embarrassment. Absolute embarrassment. He couldn't manage in the French league. He struggled immensely. He really struggled. He was out of his depth completely. He was terrible at man management. He was terrible at motivating his players. We're going to see a similar story to Frank de Boer. And well, can I just stipulate? I think if Vieira stays manager all season, they will definitely finish bottom. But my feeling is they might, as I said in the last video, Vieira has a couple of terrible first games. They get rid of him and get someone in like an Allardyce to steady the ship for the rest of the season and stop them going down. That's the only way they'll stay up, in my opinion. But even then, I feel like with the squad they've got, it might not be enough because they've lost that depth, which meant a man like Hodgson can come in and steady the ship. They don't have that anymore. And that's a big worry for me. So I think they could easily finish bottom place. And that's my reasoning for that.
I'll start first. I massively disagree with that one. I think Paris as a club has a good ownership. So if obviously Vieira's terrible from the get-go, they're sacking straight away. They don't mind wasting money to get a better manager in, because Crystal Palace is a team that likes the fans, appreciate obviously the support. And if someone like Vieira, if he comes in like Dubois, loses his first 6 games, he'd be gone straight away. That's what it is. He won't keep him the full season. I think players like Zaha, yes, obviously the squad depth's definitely condensed down quite a lot, but players like Zaha are still there. I can't see them finishing bottom there, especially with some of the teams in the league this season. So, yes, obviously you could argue that it might be towards the bottom if Vieira just have a terrible year, but I've never done it.
Yeah, as I say, I feel like now I'm saying I'm probably more liable to change them, but my gut is saying that something's got to give with Palace. And again, I think my picks are like me trying to manifest something, because I am getting sick of Palace. Like, it sounds stupid. I'm just sick of them. They're so boring. Their players are boring. It's just a bunch of old heads blended with some youth, but they're not interesting to watch for me. It's either the Zaha show or a bunch of like your James McCarthy's and people like that, and they're just not fun to watch for me personally. Like Benteke up top, just lump the ball to him and he'll head it in. Like, I don't know, they're just not fun to watch for me at all. Maybe that's just my opinion, and I just feel like, I think Kieran said it last video, basically he wants them to kind of reach and try and push on and try and do something more, and I think they have to try at some point, and if they are going to do it, they'll do it with Vieira, and that's what will make them go down. But I think it might be good for them long term, but it's just, in the short term, I think it'll have to see them finish bottom. Yeah.
I think firstly, Dwight Gale lives rent free in your head. That's why you don't like Palace. I agree, Palace are going to struggle, but I don't think they're going to go down. I think they're going to have a bad season as far as recent times has been concerned, because they've been quite safe from relegation, really. But I do think individuals like Zaha, at the end of the day, is going to be enough to keep them up when you look at the other rivals around them. Since I've got Burnley bottom, individuals like Zaha, I feel like, are better than the alternatives that Burnley have, apart from, even if Chris Wood scores 10 to 12 goals, Dwight McNeil, as much as he's a brilliant crosser of the ball, he's not a prolific goal scorer from wide areas. So I say Palace struggling, but not to the point of finishing bottom.
Yeah, right. So obviously Palace were my bottom in this one, which I think probably in hindsight I might change, but I'm just going with my gut here. I think often my gut, it's going to either make us really right or really wrong. So if Palace finish bottom, I'm going to look like a genius, but if not, I'm going to look like an idiot. We'll see. I think 19th, I don't think anyone will argue with. I've got Watford going down because, as we said, management's not got the experience. The players are decent, but not good enough. They're not going to probably finish rock bottom. They'll get some points, but not enough to stay up. Then that squad's not as good as the one that first came up. It's not got enough experience, and some of the players that are still there are a bit older now and aren't quite cut for the Premier League. I don't think I'm going to argue with that one at 19th. And so I'll go on to my 18th place, and I did reach between 3 teams for 18th for me. As I said earlier, I can feel Norwich clawing their way out of it, especially with Southampton and Burnley. Southampton losing so many players, and Burnley just not buying any, and having a squad that probably is championship quality just with a great manager. I can see Southampton and Burnley easy swapping with Norwich for that 18th place if Norwich, these new signings come good. Mila Rashka, Josh Sargent, Lise Malou. They've got loads of good little signings that I quite like. That I like the signings they've made. So I feel like that might help them claw out. But I have still got them in 18th at the moment. I feel like they'll do a good portrayal of themselves. A bit like last time. They'll come up and no one will sit there and go, "These are horrible to watch. These are boring." these deserve to be bottom. But at the same time, we're not going to go, they don't deserve to stay up either. They're just, a nice little team that, and you can't be angry at them. Do you know what I mean? But you can't exactly be like, whoa, this team's amazing. And I think that's why they'll finish 18th. And as I said, above them, I've got Southampton just finishing above there. But I could easily swap with Burnley. Either of those teams I think are going to have very, very bad seasons and could end up going down, either of them, if they don't, make drastic recruitment before the window ends. I'll keep going through, and if anyone wants to comment, you can comment. I think just above Burnley in 16th, I've got Brentford. 15th is my Brentford. Again, I think we'll agree that Brentford are going to probably do better than most newly promoted teams do. They're going to avoid relegation and probably look okay, but they're not going to push on more than that. Then above that, Newcastle, 14th. Okay. See, again, Newcastle are one of those teams where you just never know, because your squad's definitely better than a lot of relegated sides have had, but Newcastle have got this ability to surprise everyone, and never in a good way. And I'm sure as a Newcastle fan, you know that one, Adam. Would you be entirely surprised? Not that I think it's going to go down, but how surprised would you be if you just went down?
I would be very surprised if it went down. I think Sir Maxwell, Wilson, Joe Willock, I think those three are just more than enough to keep up. I would be shocked if we went down. But again, I've got Steve as manager, so it never knows. I can't see three teams being. I can't see less than three teams being worse than Newcastle, because just the amount of teams that are in the league now, right? Most of them suck. Like, most of them don't invest what they need to. Whereas Newcastle, yes, we're not an amazing team, but we've got players that have experience, and we've got players that. But for example, Callum Wilson, you expect him to score double figures in the Premier League, and I think that's the sort of player that's going to keep any team up. So for that, we thought we're quite high up in 13th.
Well, I'm trying to think back on that first time in the shock relegation you had. Didn't you have quite a good team back then as well? I've got a feeling you did.
2016 one or the 2009 one, which we know about.
I think 2019 you had quite a good squad back then when you first got relegated.
It was an absolute shambles back then, because when Mike Ashley first came in, and you got players like Mike Lowe who just were injured all the time, or couldn't be asked to play, and they had our problems as well. We had three managers in that season. We got relegated, so it was a complete nightmare. The season went down. Yeah. As you probably wouldn't expect it to go down, but the actual club itself is the worst it's ever been. Like, the club is in complete state that season.
Yeah. Well, as I say, I don't think they're going to go down, but as a Newcastle fan, you want more. I can imagine, knowing a lot of Newcastle fans being from the area, it's just obvious you just want so much more from the club. Right, I'll go on. So 13th got Brighton. Similar to what I said earlier. They're going to have a decent season, and probably better than last time because they're looking good. Wolves, again, we said rebuilding season. 11th, I've got Leeds, because I think, it's still going to be hard for them. They still probably need more depth, but they're still a good squad. Just above them, I've got Everton. Again, I don't think they'll impress. Don't think they'll do anything great. I've got West Ham in 9th. If they sign a striker, that's my if. If not, I'll swap them and probably Leeds round. I'll probably have Leeds in 9th and West Ham in 11th place. 8th, Arsenal went over that. They're not a top 6 team anymore. Just below them in a space, I got Spurs, then Villa in 6th, who we're all agreed around that area now. Leicester in 5th. That's the rest of mine.
I think that's got all of them, yeah.
Yeah, very similar to that part of the table. I think a lot of maybe 1 or 2 places changed, but very similar stuff. Let's hear your bottom 3 then, Kieran.
No, just
bottom
Hello,
3.
right, my connection went a bit dodgy. I'm back.
Yeah, right. Come on, bottom 3 then, Millsy.
That was my connection telling us I've got some bad opinions here.
Yeah, try to stop you.
My bottom 3, as I said earlier, I fancy Burnley to struggle really badly, so I put them bottom. Norwich 19th, again, as Adam said multiple times, they're a Euro club. Even if they've made some decent signings, I just can't see them being good enough to stay up this season. 18th, I've gone Southampton, and that's purely because of losing the goals of Danny Ings, relying on a striker in Armstrong who's not played in the Premier League. Ward-Prowse is being linked heavily with Spurs, so I think he might leave. And then they've lost Bertrand to Leicester, Vestergaard to Leicester. I think it's only going one way, and that's down.
No, I'll definitely win that one.
Yeah, great.
The next 3 could easily have been in the bottom 3. I feel like the bottom 6 will be quite close this season. 17th, I put Palace. 16th, I put Brentford. And 15th, I think I'll put them the highest is Watford. I fancy Watford to do better than yous have let on, anyways.
Massive objection there.
I don't know, because I can see where he's coming from, because they have got some little bits of, could they, do you know what I mean? Like, João Pedro, I'm not sure. But then again, he's young Brazilian. He could easily push on and score some goals in the Prem. You know, Danny Rose, I think he's decent left back. You know, he's an alright little signing for them. Foster in goal, decent as well. I don't know. I feel 15th is a bit too high for them. They might stay up, but 15th is too high.
I fancy Josh King to have a good season alongside Ismail Sarr. I think
he's got Spurs.
Yeah,
60 million to Spurs allegedly. This is what's been rumoured.
Wow.
Yeah, the Spurs.
Well, still, I think King's going to have a good season. He's going to score in the region of 12 to 15 goals somewhere there. Probably close at 12. So
I don't think King will do as well. I think King in that Bournemouth team, we saw him at Everton. He looked like a shell. I think it's similar to
Watford. He played at Everton though. Like he never started a game for them. He played 2 games, of which both of them he came off the bench for like half an hour.
But that must tell you something, because the manager like Ancelotti wasn't starting him. And King.
But then you've got Richarlison and Calvert-Lewin.
I've got some good options, Everton.
Oh no, I know. But the point is that King, he had issues when he was younger as well. You know, he started at Man United, ended up at Blackburn. And the reason he struggled at Man United was because of his attitude. King's always had a bad attitude. And that was probably why he wasn't getting started, as well as, you know, the fact he had 2 very good attackers in front of him.
Well, anyways, it's funny you should mention Everton, because at 14th, I think they're gonna really struggle as far as they're concerned. I've got Everton 14th.
Do you know what? I can agree with that. No, I'm agreeing with Kieran. I'm giving Kieran it on this one.
14th. But no, I can't see Everton 14th.
I know I didn't put them that low in mine, but I do see where I like 100% agree with them. I like on the sentiment.
I think Newcastle's going to finish higher than Everton this season.
Yeah, I do you know what? I'm going to be very honest. I mean, Kieran, again, we've had this conversation before. I think Benitez is one of the most overrated managers in the game.
You think this is Newcastle's going to have a better season than Benitez as Everton? No, I disagree.
I don't know about that, but I do think Everton are really going to do bad. I don't know. Benitez is not a good manager. Ancelotti did okay with that team, and Ancelotti's one of the best in the world. Benitez is vastly overrated. He's played the same tactics for so long, and yeah, Newcastle, he didn't have a lot to work with, but I don't think he did anything special.
No, but Benitez, like Newcastle, he finished 10th and 13th in these 2 seasons. You cannot get lower now with Everton. They could take a £500 million team. Now, with players like Richarlison and Dominic Calvert-Lewin, I mean, yes, Pickford's a bit dodgy, but he did have a really good European campaign. 4 teams were way too low. I think that's ridiculous, to be honest. So, respect to your opinion. I think that's baffling.
I think we'll see, but I can very much agree with Kieran on that one. Like, as I say, I wanted to put Everton lower, but I just, as Adam was saying, like, I felt a bit mad at me putting them above certain teams because of the quality in that squad. But I do really feel like they're going to have a bad season as well. It's one like Gylfi Sigurdsson might not be able to play for non-footballing reasons. We'll see what happens there. But
I just feel like the sentiment around the club at the minute, particularly with Benitez's appointment, it's going to cause such a poison chalice. If they go off to a bad start, I think it's going to badly negatively affect the players.
Yeah, no, definitely. And Everton usually rely on that good start to see them through. So, yeah, I definitely agree with Kieran on that one. I think they're going to definitely struggle next season. Benitez not good enough manager, in my opinion. And you got to add the fact that, as Kieran has said, the fans will be on him. And the second he does badly, one bad result, these Everton fans will be wanting his guts for Gata, because I thought the appointment was stupidity in the first place. Like, I was livid as a Liverpool fan. I thought Benitez, no matter what he did in the rest of his career, he was always going to be adored by Liverpool fans for what he did. Whatever. And now to me, I'm just like, piss off. Do one. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I was really irritated about the appointment, because it's like, why would you ruin such a good history at one club by, you know, joining not only the rivals, the derby. I know it's not the biggest rival in the Premier League, but it's up there, and we aren't exactly mates, and it's just a bit annoying.
That must be disagree with 14. I don't believe that.
Right, well, I'll carry on with my excellent predictions anyways. I put 13th, I put Wolves. I'm not sure how Raul Jimenez is going to be following his injury, and we've seen how much they struggled without him last year. Silva could come in. Don't rate him very highly. I thought he was very poor at times. So I think it's a season of transition, but 13th, they'll be in that sort of region. 12th, I've put Brighton, and I can see Adam starting to smile because Newcastle's still creeping up. 12th, I've put Brighton. I do fancy them to push on. I feel like they can't miss as many chances as they did last season and hit the bar as many times as they did. And as I said, I fancy Trossard to have a good season. 11th, I put Newcastle. I think, is it 2 consecutive 13 finishes or something like that?
13th and 12th.
I think it'll be in the same sort of region again this season. Even if I don't think Joe Willock is the sort of player that might excite the world and might have had a purple patch, I do rate Callum Wilson very highly, and I think his goals will contribute a lot.
I think he'll get more goals next season. I think you allowed him penalties a lot last season for his goals, and I think this season he'll start getting a lot more goals from open play, especially if Fraser can start playing and start getting in the squad. I think Wilson will definitely get more goals next season.
After that, 10th, I've got West Ham. I would like to have said they'd finish higher, but I feel like the loss of Jesse Lingard and over-reliance on Antonio will eventually cost them, and alongside playing Europa League. So I think 10th, given all that, would be a good season for West Ham. 9th, Arsenal. 8th, Leeds. Again, said it earlier, I've touched on it. Arsenal. Club's in an absolute mess.
I think it goes without saying Arsenal at the moment. I think that's what I'm saying, though. That's the thing that's upsetting. The fact that now Arsenal, they're a joke club, it's really disappointing for Arsenal fans.
Yeah, it's been good this year, though, so.
That's true. Got to look forward to that, right? So
I've got the Amazon Prime documentary to look forward to.
Oh, I need to watch that, to be fair, because Arsenal fan TV are just hilarious. Right, anyways, go on, let's get your last couple ones out of the way.
7th, I put Aston Villa, invested very heavily. Tried to replace Grealish in different forms of players rather than one player that might flop. So I think they've done excellent recruitment. Similarly, 6th, Leicester. Their recruitment's been very strong. Signed some great players. I mentioned last video, Daka. I feel like will have a very, very good season. I think he's the sort of player that eventually will replace Vardy. 5th, you don't agree, as I said earlier. I put Spurs 5th. I feel like, as I said, Kane will go to City, I feel like. And with Son as a central striker, Dele Alli, Bergwijn, players like that around him, I feel like they'll be more fluid. And I honestly think they're going to do better than most people are predicting.
Do you know what? I've got the feeling now, the way it's going, the best thing to do and the best thing for their season will be sell Kane. If they sell him, they'll have a better season, in my opinion. And that sounds so stupid to say, because I think no matter what now, they're going to have a bad season. The best thing to do is cut their losses, take that money, reinvest it, and they might have a better season. They can change their play to not rely on him, because they're going to be relying on him. So when he goes, there's going to be this void. So as you say, he's 28, and you take all that money you can now and put as much cash you can into replacing him. Or not even replacing him, about changing the system, changing the club. I think
for Spurs now, though, I think it's too late to sell him now. I think if they were to sell him now, they would be panic buying players or getting players that they wouldn't really look into too much. So I think they should have sold him earlier on, like a couple of weeks after the Euros ended. But I think now if they do sell him, they'll be bringing players and they just don't know an awful lot about, or they'll be trying to just panic and get Russia a couple of players in. So I think the best option now would be literally just to keep an eye on season and hope he doesn't get injured and try and sell him on next summer.
Possibly. Right, so that's all our predictions out the way. We've all given our opinions, and there's been some difference. I'd say there's been more agreement than I thought there probably would be when we started this. I think the bigger disagreement was probably towards the end of the table, the bottom of the table. I think towards the top, we're all roughly agreed. But I think without a doubt next season is going to be interesting. There's no doubt in that, and I'm looking forward to watching teams like Villa more than I have in the past, especially after this summer. So as we wrap it up, I'd like to quickly mention again, there will be a pin or a link or whatever in the description to our fantasy league. If you want to try and win, sell 20 quid, you've got me and Kieran to compete with. Adam will have a go to, I suppose. We'll see how that one is. As well, I'll leave a poll as well, and hopefully next time we get around to filming something. I'm thinking between two ideas, we could look at who we think is going to be, the unsung heroes or the people we don't expect to do so well next season in the Premier League this being, or possibly people want to see it, because I know there's a lot of Championship fans. We could try and do a Championship prediction, which is a lot harder, and we don't know a lot about it, but I think that's why it'd be more fun to do, because we're like utter idiots. We'll just see. And of course as well, I think we probably will cover the Messi transfer at some point. So what you want to see, tweet or message where, you know, as you say, it's still relatively new to us. So you want to share, give it a bit of support. We do really appreciate it. So yeah, that's it from me. I'm assuming you two are done with, you know, whatever you want to say.
You've got the outro sorted.
Yeah. So yeah, as I say, bit of support would be much appreciated, and hopefully we'll be back soon. So see you in a bit. Bye.